Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Minutes with Milo show. I hope we're going live. Double checking with the YouTubers and see what they see, and they're telling me that we're live. All right, and we have skip frames due to encoding lag. But of course we do. Always do. Why? I don't know. Internet's junk. That's why. Too many users. Not enough megabits per second. That's what I think. All right, so it's Thursday. It's my Friday. It's your Thursday. It's my Thursday too. But my Thursdays are dual purpose. Why? Because I'm a multitasker. You got that right. I can do more than one thing at a time. Makes me a multitasker. I can have Thursdays and Fridays rolled all up into one. And that's the way I like it. Of course, I'd like every day to be a Thursday, Friday. Maybe one day. Maybe one day, every day will be a Thursday, Friday. So, if you don't know about the show, you stumbled across it by accident, don't go away. Just hang in there. If you don't like this show, look at my channel. I've got 158 other shows. Videos now, but they were once live like this is now live. So, like, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification on. There's Roberto. Good evening, sir. And post comments. Look at back. I've got some. I'm just a slacker. I've got some podcasts out there. I'd like to just one day, if it would ever rain again and just be a rainy, dreary, I don't want to go outside kind of day, you know, like they have in England or Washington State, where it's just like, you really don't even want to be inside your own skin because it's so depressing out there. Then maybe I'd sit down and just like post all of my shows and make podcasts out of them. And then I wouldn't feel so bad that I've got 158 shows and only like 10 podcasts. I could just hire somebody to do it. Robert, you'd do it. You'd work for adult cold beverage snacks, wouldn't you? You'd do them all for me. That'd be quite the deal, wouldn't it? All right. So tonight's topic, kind of a throwback to a couple of weeks ago when it was the 4th of July and I didn't do a show, and I was going to do a show on like why we had the 4th of July. And now I could still do a show like that. But it's just, you know what I mean? It's not the sweet spot anymore. That it's almost like that moment's past. But it's never a bad time to talk about American heroes. Servicemen, people that do, it doesn't even have to be servicemen. Just tonight we are talking about that. Maybe I could find some firemen, some policemen, some EMS workers, average citizens that have done miraculous things, and talk about them. But this is about Sergeant Alvin York. Why? I just popped into my head one day. Me and the wife, we like to do a movie night. Usually it's Saturday. So, and we're on this, have been now for a year or so, this kick about trying to watch movies that are based on true events or live, people, real people. And I don't know why. I don't know how many years ago it's been. I saw most, probably not all, the Sergeant York movie. We'll look at some of that. And I thought, my wife's into this, some World War II stuff, World War I, kind of, specific stuff, mostly ocean-going vessels. But anyway, there's Garthok. I'm back. Woo! Y'all found me. So I thought she might like it. I don't think she did. And I could see why. We'll talk about the movie. Like a lot of movies in my brain, it could have been shorter. It was over 2 hours. Probably could have been done in less than 2 hours. But, I think 2 hours and 14 minutes. Did it need all that time? Probably not. Probably not. And they embellish some. If you've seen the movie, it's not exactly true, but it is true. Enough, based on enough true events that, it's pretty interesting. So, we watched it. I thought, you know what? I could do one because I've done I look back. In the early days of the show, I did another Medal of Honor recipient. And they don't call them winners. They call them recipients. I don't know why. There's a story why they don't call them winners. Something to do because, this is usually Medal of Honors are for people that go beyond above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to, usually wartime conflicts, those kind of things, battles. And so they receive it. They don't win it because obviously lots of people die in these things. And so I guess it's more of a subtle way, to say they earned it. Medal of Honor. They earned the Medal of Honor. So, anywho, what should we look at first? Let's start with what I started with first, the movie. Let me put my eyeballs on. Hey! And all this time I thought it was just some blurry face. That's a handsome face. Okay, stop looking at yourself. Let's get on with this. Window capture. Where are we? There we are. Alright, let's move that over to IMDb. Camo. Shrinking me down to size. Get that over there. Bring that up. Boom. Shakalaka. Boom. Whoa. Bring it up. And we'll watch the trailer here. Boom. All right. The trailer's kind of long, but I don't know. We'll look at why is it doing it? We're not even. Don't look at that, people. Don't look at that yet. Stop. There we go. All right. So let me get to this. This is the trailer. Let's look a little bit about it here first. It says a Tennessee farmer and marksman is drafted in World War I and struggles with his pacifist inclinations before becoming one of the most celebrated war heroes. And that's probably, in Tennessee. Why has it got all this stuff highlighted? Let's do this. Rewind. I don't know. I don't know why it does that. Alright, let's see if we can watch this trailer. Turn the sound on. Play trailer.
had your thumb sticking straight up in the air, just like that.
Oh, yeah, that gives me balance.
Oh, it gives you balance, does it? Ready? Aim. Fire.
How?
They won't get me. I'll go back in them hills.
You ain't even put hounds on your trail in 40, no matter how far back you go.
Then they better not catch up with me, or they'll be a wishing they hadn't.
York, take over. The only non-com left.
The rest of you keep under cover.
Come back here. Where are you going?
You didn't give me command.
I tried to turn it down, Robert. Sorry, Charlie. Charlie Robert. I think turn it down. Better. Maybe it did work. I don't know. Alright, so I think that's a repeat. Alright, so it was in black and white. Go figure. Boy, I wish it wasn't like that. It had a 7.7 out of a 10. 20,000 reviews give it a 7.7. 2 hours and 14 minutes. It was produced in 1941. Alright, so let's see if we can get down here. Cast. Alright, so let me do this so we can see it. Let me scoot that over. Alright, so now you can see both rows. So Gary Cooper was Alvin C. York. Joan Leslie is Grace Williams. That was the girl that was kissing him. And I don't want to spoil it, but they probably end up getting married because World War I, you didn't go around kissing fellas in the he was plowing a field when she come up and kissed him. You didn't see Major Buxton. You didn't get to see, of course, in the trailer. Ward Vaughn was Ike Book, and these were his two best buddies. Noah Berry or Buck Lipscomb and Ike. So, I'm trying to remember what I've seen this guy in. Let's look at this in another link. He was in Rockford Files. There we go. He was Rockford's dad. Very well-liked actor. Very different persona than his father, Noah Berry, or his uncle, Wallace Berry. Yep, there he is playing Rockford's dad. I don't know what he's playing there, but he enjoyed that part. Okay. Now, Dickie Moore. George was his brother. Is that the only picture they have of him? What else did he play in? Well, not a lot. I think he was a little rascal too. He looks like he's one of the little rascals. Was he a little rascal? Wow, okay. Alright, The Man Behind the Badge, Bucks, 8 Men, Starlight Theater, Shark Killer. No? I swear he looks like the kid that was in Little Rascals. They said it was in 52 films. Mini bio. So it said he was in a TV series, Captain Video and his Video Rangers. Should we go down that wormhole, that rabbit hole? No, let's not. But I swear that kid looked like a little rain. All right, so June Lockhart was Rosie York, which was Alvin's sister, and I could not place her. And this is probably where I seen her the most. And I knew somewhere in the back of my mind I had seen a lot of this lady, not physically, but in shows. And she was the mother or the wife on Lost in Space. I'm pretty sure that's what that is right here. Check out the space gun. She was on lots of things. Yep, Lost in Space, TV series. It's from 65 to 68, 84 episodes. Did she play? Yep, she was the mother. And I always liked the robot. There's a Weasley, Dr. Smith. Check out the jumpsuits, man. Yeah. Check out the jumpsuits. Where's Walter Brennan in here? There he is. Pastor Rosier Powell. And I don't know why they gave him such bushy eyebrows, man. I mean, those things were outrageous. Look at these things. Look at the eyebrows on that dude. That's oh man, that's hilarious. And see, that's I was telling my wife about the movie. It was really a serious topic, but some of the stuff was just so goofy. It was just so funny. It had a lot of, humor in it. I thought humor. Maybe in 1941 they didn't think it was humorous, you know. Let's see. Can we get back? Take me back to my little grass shack here, boys and girls. Okay, here we go. All right. This guy, George Tobias. This guy, he was one of these servicemen. Oh, he was the one that poked his thumb in the eye in the trailer. Remember that? Oh my gosh, can you leave me alone? All right, so one thing, we could go through all these things. But one thing I wanted you to realize that I didn't realize, my wife looked this up while we were watching the movie. So let's see if it'll tell us. Somebody got to get the calculator out. All right. Gary Cooper was born in 1901. 1901. The film was produced in 1941. So he was roughly 40 years old. He didn't look 40, but he was roughly 40 years old when he made that movie. Now, this is his love interest in the movie. Here. All right. Joan Leslie. She was born in 1925. So that movie was made in 41. Was she 20 years old? No, she was not. Was she 18 years old? No, she was not. Not. So when she made the movie and was kissing on a 40-year-old Gary Cooper, she was like 16, 17. Now, Alvin York, the real Alvin York, let's see. Did I close that? Oh, okay. Let's see if we can see when he was born. No. Anyway, I think when he went into the service, Sergeant York was probably almost 30. So he was almost 30. It didn't say how old his wife, real life wife was. But still, if she was 16, I found it very funny. Of course, if you know, that time girls and guys were married, you know, and having kids. Not like they're not now, but anyway, having married, having kids, raising a family, having a home and everything, you know, when they were 16, 17 years old. That's just the way they start. You know, a lot of them started out young, and it wasn't, you know, looked upon a lot as long as they were married. Age difference wasn't a big thing as long as they were married. So, but anyway, he was smooching on a 40-year-old actor, was smooching on a 15 or 16, 17-year-old actress for the movie. And they were looking deep into each other's eyes and all that kind of stuff. It just was kind of creepy. But it was a little long, had tongue-in-cheek humor, and, you know, it was all right. But I think one of the reasons it was so long was because let's see if we can find out his real Sergeant York. All right, so he was born in 1887. I don't know if Wikipedia is going to line me up here. He died in 64. Let's see. Received Medal of Honor for leading the attack on a German machine gun nest, gathering 35 machine guns, killing at least 25 enemy soldiers, and capturing 132 prisoners. All right. He was born in rural Tennessee and is now the community of Pall Mall in Fentress County. His parents farmed and his father also worked as a blacksmith. 11 York children had minimal schooling because they helped provide for the family, including hunting, fishing, and working as laborers. After the death of his father, York assisted in caring for his younger siblings and found work as a blacksmith. Despite being a regular churchgoer, York also drank heavily and was prone to fistfights. After a 1914 conversion experience, he vowed to improve and become even more devoted to the Church of Christ in Christian Union. All right, so it doesn't say here, but my wife was reading, his conversion experience was one of his best friends was killed in a bar fight. So in the movie, his conversion experience was he worked and worked and worked and worked and worked to try to find a good piece of farmland, and he didn't end up with it, and it devastated him. And I won't give it all away, but he was almost killed by a lightning strike outside the church. And when he went into the church for sanctuary, he found religion. So he was drafted in World War I, and he initially claimed to be a conscientious objector, status on his grounds that his religious denomination forbade violence. So in the movie, he made several attempts to not go because he didn't want to kill, you know. But they didn't let him do that. York joined the 82nd Division, and he was 82nd Airborne, I think. In the movie, he had an airborne patch on as an infantry private and went to France in 1918. So let's see. He was born in 1888, and he was drafted and went to France in 1918. So 27. So he was what? 31? something like that, when he was drafted. So, 31. In October of 1918, York was one of a group of 17 soldiers assigned to infiltrate German lines and silence a machine gun position. After the American patrol had captured a large group of enemy soldiers, German small arms fire killed 6 Americans and wounded 3. Several of the Americans returned fire while others guarded the prisoners. York and the other Americans attacked the machine gun position, killing several German soldiers. The German officer responsible for the machine gun position had emptied his pistol while firing at York but failed to hit him. This officer then offered to surrender and York accepted. York and his men marched back to the unit's command post with more than 130 prisoners. York was later promoted to sergeant and was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. An investigation resulted in the upgrade of the award to the Medal of Honor. York's feat made him a national hero and international celebrity among Allied nations. So, in the movie, it doesn't specify here, but in the movie he used his hunting skill to pick off Germans one by one, and therefore whittling the numbers down. He did it in the movie basically by himself. Yeah, 1 million prisoners by himself. Yeah. So, but there were like, in the movie, there were like 8 or 9 guys that survived, and they had 132 prisoners. Why the dude, I guess, you know, in the movie, the commanding officer who spoke English told the other guys to surrender, and they did, because apparently thought they were surrounded, something or other, everything, you know, whatever. But so in his early life, Alvin Cullum York was born in a 2-room log cabin in Fentress County, Tennessee. Third child born to William Uriah York and Mary Elizabeth Brooks York. Captured 1 million prisoners, like 50 though. No, it was everything. The accounts are over 130 prisoners. But that's what him and his men brought in. So, William Uriah York was, okay, his father was born in Jamestown, Tennessee, who moved to Tennessee from Buncombe County, North Carolina. Mary Elizabeth York was born in Pall Mall to William Brooks, who took his mother's maiden name as an alias to William H. Harrington after deserting from the Company A of the 11th Michigan Cavalry Regiment during the American Civil War, and Nancy Pyle, and was a great-grandmother to Conrad Pyle, an English settler who settled Pall Mall, Tennessee. They married in December 25th on Christmas Day, 1881, and had 11 children. Does it say when she was born? I'm just really interested to see what her age was compared to that of the... No, it doesn't give when she was born. Hmm. 1881. William York. Okay, I'm sorry. The parents were married. The York sons attended school for only 9 months and withdrew from education because William York needed them to help work on the family farm, hunt and fish to help feed the family. When William York died in 1911, his son Alvin helped his mother raise the younger sibling. Alvin was the oldest sibling, still residing in the county, since his 2 older brothers had married and relocated. To supplement the family's income, York worked in Harriman, Tennessee, first in railroad construction and then as a logger. By all accounts, he was a skilled laborer who devoted to the welfare of his family and a crack shot. York was also a violent alcoholic, prone to fighting in saloons, and in one of the saloon fights, his best friend was killed. His mother, a member of the Pacific Protestant denomination, tried to persuade York to change his ways. So despite his history of drinking and fighting, York attended church regularly and often led the hymn singing. A revival meeting at the end of 1914 led him to a conversion experience on January 1st, 1915. His congregation was the Church of Christ of Christian Union, a Protestant denomination that shunned secular politics and disputes between Christian denominations. So on June 5th, 1917, at the age of 29, Alvin York registered for the draft, as all men between 21 and 30 years were required to do as a result of the Selective Service Act. When he registered for the draft, he answered the question, "Do you claim exemption from draft?" by writing, "Yes, don't want to fight." So, let's see, from the day he registered for the draft until he returned from the war on May 29, 1919, York kept a diary of his activities. In his diary, York wrote that he refused to sign documents provided by his pastor seeking a discharge from the Army on religious grounds, and similar documents provided by his mother asserting a claim of exemption as the sole support of his mother and siblings. Despite his initial signed request for an exemption, he later disclaimed ever having been a conscientious objector. See, he was in the 82nd Division, deeply troubled by the conflict between his pacifism and his training for war. He spoke at length with his company commander, Captain Edward Courtney Bullock, all that, Augusta, Georgia, and his battalion commander. See, York was granted a 10-day leave to visit home. He returned as committed as his new mission as he had been to pacifism, convicted that God meant him to fight and would keep him safe. He served with the division in St. Mihiel offensive. So in the movie, he did get a furlough to go back, and he sat on this outcrop of rocks on the mountainside for like all night. October 8, 1918, an attack occurred during the Meuse-Argonne offensive. York's battle battalion aimed to capture German position on the hill. He later recalled, "The Germans got us, and they got us right smart. They just stopped us dead in our tracks. Their machine guns were up there on the heights overlooking us and well hidden, and we couldn't tell for certain where the terrible heavy fire was coming from. And I'm telling you, they were shooting straight. Our boys just went down like long grass before the mowing machine at home. Our attack just faded out, and there we were, lying down about halfway across the valley, and those German machine guns and big shells getting us hard." Under the command of Corporal Acting Sergeant Bernard Early, 4 non-commissioned officers, including Acting Corporal York, and 13 privates, were ordered to infiltrate the German lines to take out the machine guns. The group worked their way behind the Germans and overran the headquarters of a German unit, capturing a large group of German soldiers who were preparing a counter-attack against U.S. troops. Early's men were contending with the prisoners when the German machine gun fire suddenly peppered the area, killing 6 Americans and wounding 3 others. Several of the Americans returned fire while the others guarded the prisoners. From his advantageous position, York fought the Germans, and York recalled, "And those machine guns were spitting fire and cutting down the undergrowth all around me, something awful. And the Germans were yelling orders. You never heard such a racket in all your life. I didn't have time to dodge behind a tree or dive into the bush. As soon as the machine gun opened fire on me, I began to exchange shots with them. There were over 30 of them in continuous action, and all I could do was touch the Germans off just as fast as I could. I was sharpshooting. All the time I kept yelling at them to come down. I don't want to kill any more than I had to, but it was they or I, and I was giving them the best I had." So here, Sergeant Alvin York at the hill where his actions earned him the Medal of Honor. That stuff was cold, I bet you. Cold, cold, cold. So here, after his platoon suffered heavy casualties and 3 other non-commissioned officers had become casualties, Corporal York assumed command, fearlessly leading 7 men. He charged with great daring a machine gun nest which was pouring deadly and insistent fire upon his platoon. In his heroic feat, the machine gun nest was taken, together with 4 officers and 128 men and several guns. So 128 and 4 is 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, like 32 dudes. 132. In attempting to explain his action during 1919 investigation resulting in the Medal of Honor, York told General Lindsay, "A higher power, a power than man guided and watched over me and told me what to do." Lindsay replied, "York, you are right." So, U.S. Army Sergeant Alvin C. York, after his return to Tennessee's home, his mother is pouring water into his basin. His younger sister is standing on the cabin's back porch. York turned down many lucrative offers, including one worth $30,000, equivalent to $527,000 in 2023, to appear in vaudeville to return to the life he had known before the war. Interesting. So he did what he had to do. He basically flanked them by himself and pretty badass. Right. Now that's the way the movie portrays it. Now in this account, which is probably maybe a little more accurate than the movie, he couldn't have done all that by himself. But I'm sure because he was singled out and received the Medal of Honor, he did a lot above and beyond what, was called for and what other men had done. So, but what's cool, he went back to, where he was before the war. Let's see, there was some other parts here. Trying to figure out what happened to him after the war. So in the 20s, York formed an Alvin C. York Foundation with the mission of increasing educational opportunities in his region of Tennessee. York concentrated on fundraising, though he disappointed audiences who wanted to hear about the Argonne, when he instead explained that I occupied one space in a 50-mile front. I saw so little it hardly seems worthwhile discussing it. I'm trying to forget the war in the interest of the mountain boys and girls that I grew up among. He fought first to win financial support from the state and county, then battled local leaders about the school's location, refusing to compromise. He resigned and developed plans for a rival York industrial school. After a series of lawsuits, he gained control of the original institution and was its president when it opened in December 1929. As the Great Depression deepened, the state government failed to provide promised funds, and York mortgaged his farm to fund the bus transportation for students. Even after he was ousted as president in 1936 by political and bureaucratic rivals, he continued to donate money. Let's see what else. What else? During World War II, York attempted to re-enlist in the Army. However, at 54 years of age, overweight, near diabetic, and with evidence of arthritis, he was denied enlistment as a combat soldier. Instead, he was commissioned as a major in the Army Signal Corps, and he toured training camps and participated in bond drives in support of the war effort, usually paying his own travel expenses. Where did he get all this money? Well, where? General Ridgway later recalled that York created in the minds of farm boys and clerks the conviction that an aggressive soldier, well-trained and well-armed, can fight his way out of any situation. He also raised funds for war-related charities, including the Red Cross. Whoa, who is that chick? Whoa, God. Home to Mother and Sweetheart comes America's greatest hero. Wow. Man, she looks like she's got a dip in her jaw right there. That was his wife. I wonder if she put all that makeup around her eyes. Hmm. All right, let's see. Down here, some stuff. Let's see where it's from. Finally, in 1940, as York was looking to finance an interdenominational Bible school, he yielded to a persistent Hollywood producer and negotiated the contract himself. In 1941, the movie Sergeant York, directed by Howard Hawks, with Gary Cooper in the title role, told about his life and Medal of Honor action. The screenplay included much fictitious material, though it was based on York's diary. The marketing of the film included a visit by York to the White House where FDR praised the film. Some of the response to the film divided along political lines, with advocates of preparedness and aid to Great Britain enthusiasts and isolationists calling it a propaganda for the administration. It received 11 Oscar nominations and won 2, including the Academy Award for Best Actor for Cooper, and it was the highest grossing picture in 1941. York's earnings from the film, about $150,000 in the first 2 years, as well as later royalties, resulted in a decade-long battle with the Internal Revenue Service. York eventually built part of his planned Bible school, which hosted 100 students until the late 1950s. Hot tuna. Hot tuna. Get me? Let's see. Personal life and death. York had health problems throughout his life. He had a gallbladder surgery in the late 20s and had pneumonia in 42. Described in 1919 as a red-haired giant with the ruddy complexion of the outdoors and standing more than 6 feet and tipping the scale at more than 200 pounds. By 1945, he weighed 250 pounds, and in 1948, he had a stroke. More strokes and other cases of pneumonia followed, and he was confined to bed from 1954. Further impaired by failing eyesight, he was hospitalized several times during his last 2 years. York died at the Veteran Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee on September 2nd, 1964, of a cerebral hemorrhage at age 76. He's buried at the Wolf River Cemetery in Pall Mall. His funeral sermon was delivered by Richard G. Humble, General Superintendent of the Church of the Christ of the Christian Union. Humble also preached Mrs. York's funeral in 1984. Wow. So he had a bad ending. Let's see. He had a stroke in 48. And in 48 he had a stroke. More strokes in the case of pneumonia. He was confined to the bed from 1954. I don't know what that means. From 1954. But he was confined to bed in 54 and he died in 64. So 10 years. Man, that would suck. Joan Leslie was born of Irish ancestry as Joan Agnes Teresa Brodell, the daughter of an accountant and a pianist. She was educated at Catholic schools in Toronto, Montreal, and Detroit. There were 3 sisters. Her older siblings being Mary and Betty. Together they made up a successful vaudeville act. The Burdell sisters, trained in singing, dancing, and dramatics from early childhood. Another movie she was in.
Please, Jimmy, let me explain.
That's what I'm waiting for, and it better be good.
When I sent that check, I had to write something. I had to give my old man some kind of an explanation about why I left San Francisco. I've been leaving too many cities lately.
That don't look like her.
Number one, you will live here on these premises. No outside boyfriends. No swimming at the beach at Waikiki or going into any of the hotels. No bank accounts. Bank accounts attract attention. The attention of the income tax people. Now, these are my rules. Live up to them, work hard at your jobs, and you can earn big money.
Founding woman of established career. I don't know, she looks different here than she does there. Like she must have had a nose job here.
You gotta be
But
careful,
that's not the
you're
same nose.
tempting romance. Don't keep your eyes on her hips, her naughty hula hips. Just keep your eyes on the hands.
A lot of music, a lot of stuff. All right, so Alvin York. Let's see what they say. Here's these. Well, I saw him a picture there. There's what he looked like, I guess, when it all happened. Quite the well-kept mustache, I would say. And let's see what they have to say. Just look at the. You can do the Medal of Honor recipients. They have a website and you can search. We've looked at that one before. His rank was corporal, the highest rank of sergeant. World War I. He was in Company G, 2nd Battalion, 328 Infantry, 82nd Division, U.S. Army. Action date was October 8th, 1918. With better sound, like remaster them, get up all the scratching out of it and stuff like that, it'd probably be better. It's very short. After his platoon had suffered heavy casualties and 3 other non-commissioned officers had become casualties, Corporal York assumed command, fearlessly leading 7 men. He charged with great daring a machine gun nest which poured deadly and insistent fire upon his platoon. In his heroic feat, the machine gun nest was taken together with 4 officers and 128 men. Born December 13th, 1887, Fentress County, Tennessee. Died September 2nd, 1964 in Nashville. So there you have it, gentlemen, ladies, Robert. Big face. There it is. Ooh, big face. All right. So, Alvin York, Tennessee boy, doing good. And like I said, the movie, 2 hours and 14 minutes, was a little long. By today's standards, you know, cheesy special effects, all that stuff. Did I care? No. Those old movies are interesting. The fake eyebrows, you know, all those kind of things. His shooting, they shot with like flintlocks and that kind of stuff. You know, it's just kind of a weird scene, but I mean, I like those old movies. And black and white. And they told, it told a really good story. And I think it was long because they wanted to, you know, they in the movie there wasn't 11 kids running around the cabin, But anyway, not when he was, he was younger. His kid, he was older, and his siblings could have been his kids. It looked like in this, movie. And of course, Ma York was the only one there because the dad had died, and he was a farmer growing corn on the mountain. And he wanted to do better, so he wanted to get bottom land. That was the farmland at off the mountain. And it showed him, the drinking and the fighting, and then meeting his woman, and then getting religion, and then the war, and then his conflict with himself in the war, and then what he did, what he had to do, and when he came back, he was saying, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to earn that money. I just want to go back. I did what I needed to do. And that's apparently the way he was in life. Just, hey, this is what I had to do. Now I want to get back to my life the way it was before I went off and did those things, and I want to forget about them. So, but, all right, we've been here 51 minutes. If you've lasted this long, my hat's off to you. Thank you very much. Like I said before, like, subscribe to the channel. I don't know how many subscribers I've got now. Last time I looked, it was like 130, which is really good. If I could just get, a quarter of those to come and watch the show at night on live. I don't know. A lot of them, it's kind of hit or miss. I talked about this one other time on the show. Still 130 subscribers. It's kind of hard to put a finger on what people like to see and what they watch and what they don't, so I'll just keep slinging them out there. Like I said, on my summer schedule, we're doing Thursday nights, 9 o'clock. And when it gets all cold and yucky again, maybe go back to Mondays and Thursdays, something like that. But anyway, I appreciate it for the couple of young fellers that come by every week. Let's see, old movies kick butt, and to marry his sweetheart. Yep. So I don't know. If we sit down and probably did a timeline, it would be interesting to see if you could find all the information. Was he married before he went to war? Did he get married when he came back? All that kind of stuff. I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate you. Let me see if I can punch this button. It says stop streaming, and we'll do an outtake, whatever an outtake is. We'll say goodbye. Night, everybody. Appreciate it. Check back in Thursday. Was she pregnant? I don't know. I didn't ask her. I don't know. Not in the movie. In the movie, they didn't get married until he got back. But you should watch the whole thing. I watched it for free on Tubi, I think. But I had to watch commercials. Sometimes there was only 3 commercials, and sometimes there were 6. So it lasted a little bit longer than 2 hours and 14 minutes. Yeah, he had, I don't know, man, like 10 kids, right? He was a family of 11. So, plowed the field during the day. How that might work. Anyway, all right. Say goodnight, everybody. Good night, everybody. Press the button again. Yes.